shelter system for people that do not know splits up the family. There's nowhere a man can go with his kids, and there's nowhere a wife can go with her husband.
Okay, welcome to another edition of the Journey to Freedom podcast. And this year in 2024, as we're watching this, we're almost at the end of the year. This is being recorded in November. So I don't know when you're watching. You might be watching this in 2028. I don't know. But this is the time frame that we're at. We have an election day tomorrow, which is crazy and all the things that are happening. My guest here lives in what we call a battle state, where the state is going to make a difference in the election. There's just, this is one of those seasons that I just don't know, because you think that you know candidates, you think you don't know candidates, but these guys have been just talking about each other and arguing and, all these different things. And sometimes you try to figure out what's real, what's not real. There's an opportunity here that there may be another, a person of color as the president of the United States at this point in time. And there could be a time when that's not going to happen. It's, there has been a lot of, and as we, Greg talked today, we might talk a little bit about this. This obviously isn't a political show, but where they have been throwing around the need for Black men to participate like it's no tomorrow. All of a sudden, we are more important than we've ever been in the history of politics, and which I guess is a great place to be because we're making a difference. But is it for what's the gain, or what's the political reason that all of a sudden they need us where they haven't before? And so we are interviewing 100 Black men this year in 2024. These shows, if you haven't subscribed or you haven't locked yourself into checking these out, I think you're missing out, because one of the things that I found, we're somewhere in the high 70s in our episodes. And I'm the winner here because I get to interview over 75 different personalities who are doing different things, who are making a difference in our world that's unbelievable. Sometimes you go outside and you're talking to people and you're kind of feeling like we're not making any progress. Like, it seems like sometimes, I was born in the late 60s. And through the 70s and the 80s and all the crazy stuff that went on there. And then with all the mass incarceration that happened then you say, we're going backwards, or we going forward? You look back into the 40s and go, man, we were being educated with family and stuff even greater when there was segregation. And then they took dads out of families, and you go, are we just going backwards? And then we run into this a few years ago with Black Lives Matter and, which they do, and it is important. And, but then you go, you see some of these marches and, just see some of the things that happen. And then you'll have like this last week, we had a World Series that was won. And it was the LA Dodgers won the World Series, and then they tore up the city, and you're like, what is going on in our world that, just because somebody wins, you got to tear up the city? And of course, our media shows a whole bunch of Black faces that are, taking items out of stores and that kind of stuff. And you just go, we are doing so well. But then I get onto this podcast and I just get this sense of, we have done so much. We are doing so much, and we're prepared to even do even more. And, when I really think about the things that are important, I was talking to Gregory right before we started the show today. And I literally just said, what are you most excited about? And you know what he said? He said, my kids. I'm excited about the people that I brought into this world that are now going to make an impact on society. And I don't know if I get that question 10 years ago. I get that answer from so many men that are saying, you know what? My family is number one. I do have a job. I do things. I do, go out there and make money. But my family is where it's at and what it's about. And then my community comes next, and the community that we're working on and that we're helping to grow into different things. I did a podcast for a gentleman named Scott when I was in California last week, and I was driving back through Vegas. He asked me to stop by, and he did a podcast. And he's a white guy that pretty intelligent dude that is just asking, how is it that we're doing stuff? And and he was very inquisitive and really wanted to know and was trying to, understand. And, I said, I would love to tell you that what it's like to be a black man in America, but I could tell you all about it. But until you feel it, which you'll never do because you're not, it's just a whole different thing. That the things that we have to deal with our identity and the things. And he goes, well, how do we help shape the identity? And I said, well, where we're starting to take pride in our lengths is through experiences. And we are now giving our kids experiences that most of us never had. Most of us never believed we could have. Most of the things that they're starting to see. He asked me about Barack Obama's kids and how well they're doing, and I said, one of them's worth $100 million. She's doing fine. She's but her experiences were way different than most of our families. I mean, I was the president, right? It's different than all of our experiences because none of us have had a dad that's the president. Not yet, anyways. And so, I start thinking about, we were talking about, I have a friend that I just did who's a ski instructor, in Vail, Colorado, which is one of the most wealthiest mountains that's there. And he's a ski instructor teaching not only white families how to ski, but black families as well. And they show up and they do stuff. I talked to somebody who's doing some water skiing or mountain climbing or bike riding and all these experiences that allow us to feel like we're part of everything, not just a little bit about something. Yeah. And so, Greg, thank you for being on today. Thank you for being willing to share who you are and what you've been able to accomplish and what you've been able to do. I want to start with your story. I want to start with, you can start from your time when you came out of your mama's womb and all the way up to now, or you can start anywhere in the middle because it's your story. And I know that's what people want to hear. So tell us about Greg, Mr. Jack. I love Jackson. We always have, my last name's Arnold because my dad's mom married an Arnold, but she was a Jackson before that. And so we traced the Jacksons back to slaves in Kentucky. And so we have the Jackson family reunion that we've been doing since the 1980s. Wow. And so I feel like I'm a Jackson, but I know a lot of us are that way as well. But I love it. So take it away. Tell us about you.
No, yeah, thank you. And thank you for the platform. Shout out to you for making this platform for gentlemen like myself and to be able to, share the story of, the everyday life of not only just a black man, but a black father, a black son, big brother to, all of my siblings. And then also a shepherd of sheep, and definitely a leader in the community. I would hope one would say that, that's what I heard. And taking pride in being a child of God and a man of God at all times. But, of course, the stories don't always start like that. Sometimes the stories start with a little rough edges, which is okay. Thank God for rough edges. I wouldn't be where I am today without those, man. I'm a kid that was born in the Bronx, boogie down Bronx. I tell people it's the only borough that starts with a the. That's how important we are.
I love it.
Shout out to my Yankees, next year. But I was born in the Bronx. Mom, definitely a Christian woman, dad, hustler, and definitely did not really know my dad in the earlier years. Like I don't remember him being there. And then they had a time where they kind of split, and then my mother remarried. Times in the Bronx was hard, but good times in the Bronx, man. Village times in the Bronx. Having those uncles and aunts that's not really your uncles and your aunts. I'm an 80s baby. I'll date myself. I was born in 83. So Um, I'm a hip hop baby, and I'm a community baby. I grew up in the times where we had community. You know, it wasn't perfect, but you definitely had those aunts, those uncles that weren't really your blood that can pull you and really guide you and steer you, or whoop you even if they had to sometimes.
Yeah.
um but those times I definitely hold near dear to my heart, because those are the times that I find myself um looking to recreate in the communities that I'm in today serving. So being in the Bronx, my mom was in an abusive relationship with my stepdad. She had two other kids. My little brother Marquise, my little sister Ashley. What's up? How y'all doing? Love y'all. And my mom, she went and found refuge in Baltimore, Maryland. I always tell her, you were crazy for going for the Bronx to Baltimore
Oh my
in
gosh.
like 90, 92, 93.
Woo.
Like
Yes.
you were bugging. But a lot of my family on my mother's father's side, my grandfather's side, um, they lived in Baltimore, and we found refuge out there, which I really love. Coming up in Baltimore, uh, definitely experiencing the flea markets, going fishing. It was just a different lifestyle for being in New York. Waking up 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. My grandfather taking me to flea markets and setting it up with him, and he's letting me sell some baseball cards. And as he's selling, he had a fruit stand. This was, as I always look back, this was my first experience watching social entrepreneurship at
Mhm.
its finest, man. Watching my grandfather set up his fruit stand on Baltimore Ave, and even at the flea market, and I would watch people not go to a supermarket to buy fruit from my grandfather and just have conversation. I
Mhm.
didn't know what he was doing at the time, but with me doing what I'm doing now, I'll get into that. But it really kind of shaped and molded me. Between him, my grandmother, who was definitely an activist and a panther at heart, and my mother, who's Christian. All three of them really shaped and molded me to who I am now. And living in Baltimore was, the city is messed up, man, but the people there are beautiful, man. It's beautiful people in Baltimore. Neighbors that are really neighbors. When it's snowing, you're shoveling the old ladies out so their cars ain't stuck. You're putting salt down for them. You're doing all of that stuff, but not knowing what you're doing while you're doing it is just part of the culture out there. So I met a lot of beautiful and good people out there in Baltimore, and then ended up getting into some trouble. And I want to say, lack of having a father around.
Mhm.
Um, but then I also want to say the curiosity also of what media was pushing out
Mhm.
um, really made me curious about what existed in the world, right? Not necessarily from a positive state. When I was growing up, it was SDE. That was it. That was the acronym: sports, drugs, and entertainment. That
Wow.
is how you're gonna get out of the neighborhood that you lived in. Sports, drugs, and entertainment. The rapper Cameron had an album that came out. It was called SDE,
Wow.
right? But that was a thing that was going on, to get out of the neighborhood that you out the slang rock, or you had a wicked jump shot.
Mhm.
The great artist Biggie Smalls said that, right? So, it's I when I got into some trouble in Baltimore, I really wanted to be a rapper, not knowing what hip hop was, but just knowing I was good with lyrics, right?
Mhm.
And I was creative. And my mom, she had wrote my first rhyme, and
Really?
my mom was real good, man. Like she was good at honing in on my talents and really trying to like
Uh-huh.
sow a seed in it, right? And then
Yeah.
even if it was something of the world that I was doing, she was still sow a seed in it. So me and my friends, she formed a rap group in Baltimore, and we used to be in the basement doing the moves and all
Uh-huh.
that. And my mom's and that's when sewing was big in the household. My mom used to sew our outfits, and put
Wow.
it together, and Yeah, man, it was a really good time. But yeah, shout out to my moms for that because she always. I remember having my friends in the basement. We always had somewhere we can go,
Mhm.
practice, play video games, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But from that time, I just fell in love with rap, man. I fell in love with rap. Love Biggie, love Pac, love Jay-Z, Nas. I just wanted to be a rapper and kind of took up that craft. Also getting in trouble because living a lifestyle
Mhm.
of what was shown in hip hop, living that lifestyle. So getting involved into, street activity, that led to smoking
Yeah.
weed early, drinking early, getting kicked out of school early, cutting school in middle school, and just doing all of those things to where I was driving my mother crazy, driving my mom crazy, man. My mom ended up sending me back to New York. I had
Oh.
gained a relationship with my father during that time. So when I was about 14, I went back to New York, lived with my dad, and craziest thing happened living with my dad, man. I remember moving with him, and my moms didn't know that's the environment I was moving to.
Yeah.
Just I always got to give that disclaimer for people. My mom's had no idea. If she did, she wouldn't have let me go.
Good.
But she did let me go live with my dad, and I remember. And my dad, rest in peace to him. He's passed away since then. Changed his life, became a Muslim after his time in jail and everything, and really reformed himself. And I got to spend time with him as a mature, just
Mhm.
beautiful person. But at that time in my life, he was one of the biggest drug dealers on my block.
Oh
So
wow.
I had moved into basically a trap house, not knowing I
Uh-huh.
was in a trap house. And I think one day my dad just got tired of hiding it from me, and he just brung his plate out and was just cutting up right there, just cut crack up right there at the kitchen table. It just was bagging up. He just was, it's like, man, you don't do this.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and for all of the parents out there that are involved in anything that you shouldn't be doing, do not do it in front of your kids and tell them not to do it. That doesn't work.
Not at all.
It
You're the
doesn't.
example, right?
Yeah, that doesn't work at all because the first thing I thought about was I'm taking up the family business. There's no way in
Mhm.
the world I'm about to be broke in this house. He makes absolutely too much money, and unfortunately, that's what I ended up doing.
Mhm.
Um, my grandmother, shout out to her. She always told me, have a backup plan, have a backup
Yeah.
plan. So I did end up going to culinary school.
Oh,
Uh,
did you? Okay.
I loved cooking, man. Always loved cooking. Had to cook for my little brother and sister when we was growing up, and I always took pride in it. Very creative in the kitchen, man. I can make, mama have ground beef, Parmesan cheese, and a biscuit here, and we gonna find a way to come up with a
Yeah.
five-star designed meal, right? So we gonna have stuffed meatballs with Parmesan in it and biscuits on the side or something, right? We're gonna think of something. And my grandmother, and my mom too. They really pushed me to go to culinary school. So I went to the Art Institute in New York City,
Okay.
and really just indulged myself into the wonderful world of culinary and loved it. But was still selling drugs, man. Was still couldn't shake the street life. Um, and was still rapping, battling on 42nd Street. I loved battle rap and doing all of that stuff. So I had a mixtape with K Slay. Shout out to my uncle Omar. He came out with an entertainment label and really played as my manager
Mhm.
as I was rapping and rapped for Dame Dash and Hot 97. All of this stuff that was so great, man, of experience to be able to do that. And ended up getting arrested, man. Still in
Wow.
the streets selling drugs. Ended up doing a year. Had to spend a year on Rikers Island, um, and that was some of the hardest times of my life right there. Really understanding that freedom can be taken away from you, um, that you don't have, tomorrow isn't necessarily promised to you, and us, and then also kind of losing whatever traction you gain while you're in the world, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
lose that while you're in jail. You got to come back. You got to rework that. You got to get a new brand. You got to find a way to market yourself again and get back into the world, which is sometimes can feel impossible for somebody that's going through that reentry process. And I remember coming home from jail and wanting to get back into society and do the right thing. And man, my mom had moved to Charlotte in that time of me being in New York, and I couldn't get my footing in society. I just couldn't get my footing. Working jobs, couldn't get a job to really paying for a room that's small. It's like a box. You in New York. It's you feeling that pressure of I don't know if I can rebuild here. Every person on my block knows me as a drug dealer, knows my dad as a drug dealer. The officers know me as a drug dealer. I remember getting searched with a suit on and a briefcase.
Wow.
Nobody believed, like the officers didn't even believe me. And it was very difficult. And my mom, I remember I talking to her. She was saying, "Hey man, you need to get to Charlotte. You need to come down here, come look at it. It might be worth your time. What you're paying for a room there, you could pay for a 1-bedroom apartment here." And I think that was probably one of the times where I listened to my mother.
There you go. There you go.
I listened to my mother, and I one of the best decisions of my life was coming out to Charlotte, visiting, seeing what the possibilities were, and knowing that I didn't want to do what was happening in New York. I had my daughter while like a year and a half before I got locked up, and I really, coming home from jail, not being able to see my kid, and not being able to help her and help her mom, and just didn't feel good, man. It felt terrible, and then coming home, and she was involved with somebody, so it's not like you were getting right back into whatever you left, right? That relationship was gone, so that was hard as far as a man having to take that as pride. Me and her fiance at the time. We went back and forth at it, man. Just immature times for me, but definitely couldn't find my footing. I remember having a conversation with my oldest daughter, letting her know that I had to leave and go to Charlotte. That was kind of like gut wrenching. But I knew down here, it was something different was going to happen. To where I would be able to be a better father. When I got out here, man, it was the first time that I really started working in a kitchen and using my talents as a chef, and getting to the kitchen and staying as far as I could from the street life. And I eventually met a lady here, and had my 2 children out here. They're Charlotteans,
Mhm.
and Gianna and Annelle. I tell my daughter Gianna all the time that she literally saved my life having her,
Wow.
because a light bulb kind of went off in my head,
Mhm.
that the mistakes that I've made with my first child, Jayla, who I love dearly, I will not make with my second child, right? So there was a sense of maturity that happened when I had my daughter, Gianna. I wanted to be a dad. I didn't want to be that NIGGA. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be a dad. That felt good to be able to do. At that time, I skipped over that, but my dad had got arrested. He did, he was in the feds. The feds came and got him. And that was hard. So when I was doing a year in jail, my dad was arrested also. And by the time he came home, I was so excited, because I had my life together and I was able to really help him, um, you know, get back on his feet. Also working and rapping. And shout out to my mom for convincing me to come down here and do better. I didn't really get it together. It took me 3-4 years to get my feet wet into a new city, and really understand the flow of the city. the themes of the city, how it moves. It's different than New York. It's slow, but it's fast. It's you could pick your poison. Really, you don't have to have that up all the time mentality of New York, but you don't really have that deep South stay in the house kind of mentality. We just in the and we don't. It's in between,
Yeah.
and I couldn't figure it out. Got in trouble a little bit, and I think 2017. I don't know, consciousness, man. That just happened. I wanted to be used differently
Hmm.
than I've been used. And at that time, I just knew there's a God. My mom was Christian. My grandfather is Muslim. I've studied Buddhism. I know Rastafarians. I'm all over the place spiritually.
Yeah.
I know it's a God.
Yeah.
I know I'm not doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing, you know. And me and my daughter's mom, Ebony, we fell out, and because I was not in my purpose,
Hmm.
and she we fell out, and I wasn't with my kids every day, and man, that was it. That was my rock bottom moment right there, to where I said, yeah, I give up.
Wow.
I
Okay.
give I give up. Um, I don't want to do it my way.
Hmm.
I don't want whatever I think I want. I was recording an album called Belly of the Beast, because that's where I felt like I was. I felt like I was in a whale like Jonah, getting ready to get spitted out into a new land and be a new person. And um, I never got to come out with that music. In that year, 2017, we had the Freddie Grays, it was the Trayvon Martins. It was just
Hmm.
to 2000. It was just murder after murder after murder of young black men that were unarmed by police officers. And Sandra Bland, and that moment did something to me to where my music started changing.
Hmm.
And in Charlotte, we had a young man named Keith Lamont Scott, who in 2016 lost his life. Um, and when I said Trayvon Martin, I meant 2014, 2015. And then 2016 came, and this Keith Lamont Scott thing happened in Charlotte where this young man lost his life terribly, unarmed by police officers, um, had some mental health issues going on, and it blew up in this city. Rioting happened, protests for 7 days. I was a part of the protest uh, that I was compelled to go down there and do something. And going down there to do something, to say something, to just be a part of this thing that was happening, this movement that was happening. I found myself downtown in Charlotte, standing on the corner of North Tryon and Trade Street, looking around at a bunch of protesters that had tape on their face, doing a silent protest. I'm from New York. I'm with my friend Mo Crane. He's from New Jersey. We're looking at these people like, what the heck are y'all doing? Why do you have tape on your mouth? This doesn't make any sense. How can you protest quietly? We counted down 10 seconds and said, in 10 seconds, we are going to the police department to protest. I counted down, got the two. We turned around. We walked 10 steps, turned around. It was 500 people behind us. We were
Wow.
walking to CMPD Police Department downtown, the main headquarters. We were going down there, to not even knowing exactly why we were going down there. We just knew that's where the problem was.
Hmm.
We went down there, and there were officers in front of the department. They had bikes. Uh, and there was me and my friend Mo Crane and all these people behind us, and it was like a standoff. And I'm going in and I'm talking and I'm telling everybody who we are as black people in America. We're not just criminals. We're
Yeah.
fathers, we're sons, we're highly educated graduates. with doctors, with lawyers. I'm just going down the line of the things we are, children of God. And this officer comes through the bike lane, moves everybody, says, "I got this." I move. And he comes out and he says, "Man, you know what?" White dude says, "When I take this badge off, man, I'm just a regular guy." He's like, "I don't wear this in the house. I take this thing off like you take your shirt off, like you take your shoes off. I'm a guy, man. I understand why you mad. I get it. But I want the same thing you want." And we went back and forth, and then he challenged me and he said, "Well, let's meet. Let's talk after this." In the middle of a protest, this
Yeah.
officer, and he put his hand out for a handshake, and I shook his hand, and I said, I grabbed it, and I said, "I'm gonna come meet you next week when this is over, and we're gonna do something." And I promise you, 2 days, he was the same captain that was marching with us around the city on his post, and we were able to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm protesting, and he's marching, making sure we're doing it peacefully. And one of these nights, I was meeting with Gary McFadden. I saw him. I wasn't meeting with him, but I saw him come out the police department. It was actually later that night. I saw him come out the police department, and he was in a suit. He didn't look like an officer. Black guy, looking fly, but cocky in the middle of a protest. So I ran up to him. "Who the hell are you? And who do you think you are? You coming out this police department? You shouldn't feel comfortable around us. We upset." And me and him argued for about this is Gary McFadden, now Sheriff Gary McFadden.
Mm-hmm.
We argued for like 2 hours. At this time, he was a retired homicide detective. And while we're arguing, the crowd dwindles from 250 to 100. And then another crowd came and said, "Let's go to the epicenter." And they go to the epicenter. The epicenter, for everybody that's watching, is just a place where a lot of bars exist. It's where you go for nightlife, okay? So really, there's no point in going there.
Yeah. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
But they said, "Let's go to the epicenter." And the crowd left, and we dwindled down to 15 people, and we ain't moved because I'm at the police department and I want to talk to the chief.
Yeah. Yeah.
We going back and forth. We going back right now. As we're going back and forth, Brian, check this out. We hear boom, boom, boom.
Who shot?
Shots fired. Shots fired. McFadden grabs his walkie-talkie. What is it? What is it? What is it? All we hear is protester down, protester down, protester down.
Wow.
Now, in that very moment, me and McFadden looked at each other and we were like, "Yo, this is not why we're protesting. Protesters aren't supposed to die in the protests."
Mm-hmm.
Right? The young man that lost his life is named Justin Carr. Justin Carr. These two people, Keith Lamar Scott, Justin Carr, those people that lost their lives is the reason why I continue to do this work every day tirelessly, because without them losing their lives, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Carr and Keith Lamar Scott. That same officer, Captain Mike Campagna, I met with him the next week. We didn't know we were getting filmed on Fox News that whole time when we shook hands. It was the handshake that went across the world. It had millions of views. Fox was filming. My mother called me. She said, "You know you're on TV?" I said, "No, I don't. I didn't know." When you get that type of, I tell people it was breadcrumbs from God.
Mm-hmm.
And I refuse to take that moment, and I refuse to take that responsibility and walk away with it and not do nothing.
Yeah.
I tell everybody that's protesting, the protest is 365 days a year, not just when you mad. And we were out there, and I got elevated in 2016 and 2017 as an activist, a community activist. And I was working with CMPD, which is our police department at the time, to train officers on how to communicate with the African American community in a time of duress. We made a actual training that was a mock training of a protest. We did one-on-ones with community leaders and officers. They let me bring 25 of my friends in to train these officers on how to communicate. Shout out to Chief Putney, who was the chief of police at the time. And we trained these officers, and now they are the constructive conversational team, the CCT team. They come out in a time of duress to not only be there, but to offer, give cards out, and then also say, let's go get some coffee. You look like a concerned citizen. I'm not gonna run your name for a warrant, because you're obviously out here for a reason, because you care. And let me look at your passion as a strength and not a weakness. You
Mhm.
can probably be a leader in the community. And we did that and trained 77 officers. It was absolutely amazing. Um, and that just got me a lot of awards. To God be the glory. Citizen of the Year, MLK Gold Medallion Award, the Harvey B. Gann Award. Just winning these awards, working them and to train these officers so we don't have this divide. And then I started a youth program in my neighborhood, wanting to get active, man. I did so much wrong in my past life. I just wanted to put some good energy out in the community. And this is the day. This is another day. This is another thing that changed my life besides my kids. Um, this organization that I've been privileged and honored to be able to be a founder of, and executive of. Um, it's called Heal Charlotte, HEAL Charlotte. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Shout out to all of the friends that helped me put this thing together in the beginning in 2017. I just knew it was something. And
Mhm.
I had time. I quit my job. I was a sous chef at two different restaurants. I quit my jobs because I couldn't think of recipes no more. I was writing programs for kids, writing programs
Mhm.
for cops. Um, if you know the world of restaurant, you know you don't get a severance pay in
No,
restaurants.
you
My
out.
my my boss, my executive chef, gave me one.
Oh wow. Okay.
He seen me on the news, seen me advocating, saw me being an activist, and just knew I wasn't in that kitchen no more. God was leading me into another place. They paid my rent for 2 months, man, and it gave me freedom to be able to navigate, and take advantage of some social capital. I was meeting the mayor, meeting the city council, the county commissioners, all of this stuff happening. And God really blessed me in this neighborhood of Orchard Trace where I was staying. Where there's a basketball court there, tennis court there, the leasing office. And in Charlotte, it's different, man. They got amenities in the leasing office. It ain't like that in New York. They got swimming pools and
Oh gosh.
apartment complex. Like, man, you got all this. These kids are running around losing their mind. I went to the property manager, Miss Regina Flores, and I said, hey, I just want to help. These kids don't got nothing to do. The gym is empty. I got a basketball. I promise you, I had a basketball, a football, turkey, cheese, bread, chips, juice.
That's all you needed. Yeah.
That's all I had, man. And I ended up with 40 kids
Oh.
every day, Monday through Friday, 3:30 to 6:30. I started leaning on people that I knew had gifts and talents, and I would ask them to just come. Right. If you was a tattoo artist, I'd be like, yo, you got 30 minutes to come chill with these kids and do some art. If I knew you was a gardener, I'd be like, yo, can you come teach
Plant some
these kids how to
flowers.
do it? Like, I would ask all my friends to just help out. Come for 30. If you got 30 minutes, that's all I need. Just 30 minutes. And the day that changed, man, Chief Putney and one of the city council um, members at the time, and I met my pastor on Fox. I didn't know him at the time. He was with Chief Putney. He was doing some other work called the Dream Academy at his church. And when I met him, I'm hearing about all the stuff that he's doing, and he's a pastor, which was weird for me because growing up, I didn't know pastors to do that type of work in the community, so
Yeah.
tangible and so hands-on outside of the pulpit. And he had all this years of kinder care and just youth development, right? And I was like, man, I got all these kids, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just being like, I'm just available. You know, Kobe Bryant said the best ability is availability. So
Mm-hmm.
just being available. And he came and visited, and I promise you, he looked at me and was like, "You're doing ministry. You don't even know it.
Right.
You're doing
Yeah.
ministry." And started reading the Bible.
Okay.
It went from smoking weed and reading the Bible to getting convicted about smoking weed and reading the Bible. Um, then it got to uh, I'm seeing signs, miracles, and wonders happen in this neighborhood that I'm living in now, because these kids and these parents are confirming a lot of things that are happening that they prayed for, and I'm getting blessed with the stuff that they prayed for, and I'm an in between vessel, and it's tripping me out. We're seeing in my neighborhood the crime decreased 17%. I used to, so I went to CMPD, the police department, and I said, y'all come here every Thursday, in and out of uniform. I don't care. Just give me an hour every
Mm-hmm.
Thursday. Play with the kids. That's all. Just play with them so they don't call y'all 12. They don't call y'all Officer Ellis. They call you Jason,
Mm-hmm.
right? I call you Jason. I want the kids to call you Jason. So the kids, they start, crime decreased 17% in my neighborhood. It was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Like I seen acts happen. Like I
Mm-hmm.
seen acts happen. I seen families get baptized. I seen families go from homelessness to permanent housing. Like I've seen people get healed. Like I watch acts happen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
My pastor, me and my pastor, he came and he never left.
Oh,
He
good. Good.
came, he trained all my volunteers, and he never left. 2018 came, I got baptized, and I've been on a rocket ship ever since. 2018, I got baptized in the name of Jesus. I came out the water with the Holy Spirit speaking in tongue.
What?
I
Ooh.
promise you, I can't make this up.
Oh,
I came
wow.
out the water speaking
Mm-hmm.
in tongue. I was so green and
Mm-hmm.
so ready to be used. It was crazy. God started speaking to me in a prayer closet, telling me that I was going to buy a hotel. I stay in one of the most impoverished areas of Charlotte, North Carolina. Man, it's the 85 Sugar Creek area. It's human trafficking. It's high crime. It's prostitution. It's sex trafficking. It's drugs. It's all of that stuff in that corridor. And I dropped one of my kids off in my youth program at a hotel over there, and I was like, "You live here?" She's like, "Yeah." And that was my introduction right there. And then I lost kids to eviction, and I was like, "Yo, this ain't right. Kids,
Mm-hmm.
kids, kids shouldn't be homeless."
Yeah.
Um, and I made big noise in the news, start using my social capital. And I told everybody in 2018, 2019, we need to use already established buildings to be able to house families that are experiencing homelessness. God said, I'm going to buy a hotel to do it. Watch, there will be a revival in the corridor 85 in Sugar Creek. And everybody looked at me like I was absolutely insane. Everybody. My pastor and my church was right behind me. They knew God was doing something.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord was about to provide. Um, 2019, we launched a capital campaign to be able to buy a hotel. Then COVID happened.
Yep.
There goes the capital campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But we ain't stopped working, man. We fed over 1,000 families during 2021, 2020 to 2022, 2020. We were feeding. We was outside. I caught COVID a couple times, but I got over it. We did good. We were working. We brokered a deal with for 40 rooms at a hotel called the Baymont Inn in that corridor that I was just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we housed families for the whole COVID. 66% of our families got into apartments or houses. And these are families that were staying in hotels, overpriced,
Mm-hmm.
staying in cars, or staying in shelters. All right. Um, and I watched these families get restored and renewed. Um, Last year, bro, the city of Charlotte, the city council, they voted. We did an RFP. They gave me $2.25 million.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice. Nice.
master lease the whole hotel. Right
Wow.
now, we have 70 families staying at this hotel, 125 rooms, 2.5 acres of land, all territory taken for the kingdom of heaven, making sure that they get supported services, making sure that they get wraparound services, making sure that the kids get youth programming. We turned one of the meeting rooms into a mini market, partnered with Carolina Farm Trust. It's fresh produce in there, it's a dollar store in there. Man, it's a one-stop shop where families don't even have to we canceled out everything that makes it hard for a family to survive. It's a program fee of $750 a month. They're able to save their money. There's no place in Charlotte besides where we are where a family can go that's experiencing homelessness. The shelter system, for people that do not know, splits up the family. There's nowhere a man can go with his kids, and
Yeah.
there's nowhere a wife can go with her husband,
Yep.
right? So I thought that was something that should not be. And thank you to the Lord for providing. It is now part of a precedent for some organizations to make sure that you have space for the families that have two parents, because what we preach is two-parent homes is the fastest way to wealth. All
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Two-parent homes is the fastest way to wealth. So let's make sure that we keeping these families, especially the families that are in the 30% AMI and lower, that are suffering. They in the 160, 120% of poverty guidelines. Let's keep those families and those parents together. Let's do as much as we can to keep these parents together, because that is two incomes, which is better than one income. One plus one equal two to me, right? So we definitely wanted to get to the root cause, man. I felt like I was doing byproducts of poverty, man. Youth programming, workforce development, and I would never target housing. And I
Yeah.
would always meet with people that say we want to build a safe community. And that means build a safe community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
With contractors and architects and developers,
Yeah. Oh
get
my
it
God.
in. And I wanted to do that, man. And before I finish this story, I want to shout out two of my mentees that I lost in the midst of doing this. Haji Kamara, who is so close to me, man. I lost him uh, in a car accident. Talented young kid, 16 years old. And then Ruben Contreras, 16 years old, got shot by a stray bullet. Lost him. These two young men are another reason why I continuously do this work, that those names will never be gone and never be forgotten. Haji Kamara and Ruben Contreras, those two young men right there. So yeah, man, that is the story. That is the testimony. You know what I'm saying? God has been good.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What an amazing journey. It feels like when I hear about North Carolina, especially Charlotte, I think I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago with a gentleman who's doing all the second chance stuff for all the folks that are coming out of incarceration. And he
Yeah,
just got about $10 million for his program, and so the city is moving, I get to come down. Oh my gosh, the things
yeah,
that you guys are doing and the example you're leading for the rest of the nation. I want to appreciate, I'm here in Aurora, Colorado, right? Where we have the super gigs, right? Obviously that's not true, but the whole thing is just amazing. But we do have an issue with our law enforcement,
yeah,
and the training that you did, and I start thinking about, as you were talking, I started really thinking about identity, and what's the identity of the people who come across you now, who get to spend time with you, who get to spend time with the people you're working through, and what their vision is for the future. Because I see all these different identities, right? I see, a kid who's growing up in the Bronx and trying to figure out life and ended up in Baltimore, and then that's a whole different identity. And then coming and being with the dad who has that is a drug dealer. I mean,
yeah,
so your whole identity changed there, and then the identity, you end up being incarcerated for a year. And so, okay, so how do you keep a good identity in the midst of, where everybody is angry, everybody's not happy, everybody's trying to figure out, what happened, how did I end up here? And then you have an identity of ending up in Charlotte. I don't know what process was or how hard it was. Do they just let all folks that are on parole or after parole or just go wherever they want in the country, or you got to figure out all these different places, and then
Yeah.
all the barriers that had to happen that could stifle the identity that you hold for yourself, right? If the most
Amen.
powerful force in the universe is being congruent with the identity that you hold for yourself, how does that identity grow in the midst of all these things?
Yeah.
You end up in Charlotte, you spend several years in Charlotte just trying to figure out, hey, I got to cook, I got to do this. Is my identity a chef? Is my identity a community person? Is my identity? And then now you get involved in protesting, right? Which is a whole nother identity, because now you're fighting for a cause. And
Yeah.
whatever is not part of your cause can't be part of your identity to be a good fighter for that cause, right? And then so then you, as a result of it, God places people in your life that you get to see different identities, whether it's a police chief or a captain, or folks that are saying, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
And then to start giving you the vision of what's possible, then you take in that. What would you say? So now as you're interacting with people, what would be in your mind the most important portion or the part of creating identity that works to serve others?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked. So I give you 4 bullet points:
Okay. All right.
integrity, integrity, passion, purpose, legacy. I tell all of my mentees, you build your integrity. Be a person of high integrity, because the enemy wants to take your integrity with you. He wants to take it from you.
Yeah.
He wants to take your integrity from you, because your integrity protects you in this world. It's what stops you from doing the wrong thing. Integrity is doing the right thing when nobody is looking. That's the best accountability. And if you have if you have earthly integrity, just imagine if you have spiritual integrity. You do the right thing because God is watching you, right? That type of integrity stops you from dealing with the negative energies and forces of the world, right? You can never be bought out. Never. If you have high integrity. The point, we say passion after that. So we say build your integrity, find your passion. You build your integrity first. So because when you find your passion, you have to be integral with your passion. You have to be integral with the thing that shoots endorphins out your brain, that makes you happy. Because if you don't, the world will manipulate it for you, and they will twist it, and they will make you use it for the wrong reason. Right? My passion was making music. And because I wasn't trained in integrity, I would do anything with that music, with that gift, with that talent. I would perverse that talent and not even know that. And I would be challenged in that, and I would compromise my integrity, right? So integrity, build your integrity, find your passions, find your passions. Most people have about 7 to 10 passions. One of those passions is going to walk you into your purpose. Purpose.
Yes.
Build your integrity, find your passion, walk into your purpose, the divine reason why God has created you. That thing that you just wake up and you just do without even knowing you would do, and you would do it for free. That thing. Walk into your purpose. Walk into your purpose. For me, my purpose was being a servant of God, being an earthen vessel of God. No matter if I was making music, no matter if I was a chef, no matter if I was in a community, no matter if I was a drug dealer, I loved to serve. That was something that I loved to do, was to serve you with my talent, serve you with my generosity, serve you with my charisma, serve you with my gifting. And I just found out that my purpose was to serve God, and he has provided for me. So build your integrity, find your passion, walk into your purpose, and then attach yourself to something that is I hold dear to me, which is legacy. Legacy. Attach yourself to a legacy that is bigger than you. We all have legacies. We all want to create a legacy. And you can have one that lasts 10 years after you're gone, 20 years after you're gone. Me, I chose to attach myself to the legacy of Christ, something that I know that will always exist, and that is something that is bigger than me. And that is what I attach. And some other people have other legacies that they attach themselves to, that gives them that is attached to their purpose also. So please, for everyone, that's build your integrity, find your passions, walk into your purpose, and attach yourself to a legacy. And if you can't do so, create that legacy inside of your family. So the ones after you can be able to attach themselves to the legacy that you created. And that's what I tell all people.
I love it. Yeah, one of the things that my purpose in life that I'm doing now is helping people become the person that they need to be in order to do the thing God put them on this planet to do. And then
Amen.
when you can help people walk in that purpose, and you can help people say, "This is why God put you here," and now let me see you do it, and to just see them flourish and to grow and to become the people that they were intended to be, because there's nothing like living in your purpose, and I love it. One of
Yeah.
the things that we kind of started our conversation with, as we've been talking or you've been talking, and it has been phenomenal. I want to just do so much more. What's it like to be a dad? Talk to me about being a dad.
Man, all right. So full disclosure, I'm a girl dad.
All
So
right, I love it.
man, it is a learning experience
Mhm.
every day.
Every
It
day.
is a learning experience. It is a frustrating,
Mhm.
fruitful, joyful, delightful headache of a job.
Mhm.
But it is one of the best learning experiences of my life. I have matured. I get closer to God being a dad. I learned submission being a dad, because my kids ain't really mine. They belong to Christ. Um, uh, I'm just here to navigate them and guide them to the best of my ability. But
Mhm.
when I'm gone, I hope they belong to the Heavenly Father. And so I've learned so much being a dad, and it's just I've learned from my kids. My daughter, she's 19. I learned from her, and my 13-year-old, I learned from her. Especially about women, and then I've become more of a gentleman as a girl dad. It's I
Yeah.
go out my way to make sure they know what a gentleman looks like.
Oh, so good.
And it's oh, here's one that most men won't say. It's scary. It is
Ooh,
scary.
ooh, especially with the girls.
Yes. Yeah, man.
Girls.
It's scary, man. I drop my kids off at school every day and I pray over them every day. Um, it's we live in times that are just they can be scary as a parent, right? We live in times where kids are getting homeschooled, and technology is running rampant, and social media, and I pray for the eyes, not only for my kids, the eyes and the ears of so many kids that are around in this world that have to see things that they shouldn't see at an early age, hear things that they shouldn't have to hear at an early age. And it's so yeah, I'm also not jealous of them. I'm so
Mhm.
glad that I ain't coming up on in they times. I'm so glad I'm an 80s baby. But
Man, we didn't have the internet, right? We didn't have all this bombardment of information and trying to figure out who we are and what we are based on people's best life, right? Because
yeah,
people put on Facebook and whatever other social media the good things. They
yeah,
they don't put that, and then we try to compare. They try to compare themselves against the best of the best,
we
and
didn't
go,
have to
"Why am
deal
I
with
falling
that.
short?" Oh my god!
Yeah, man. All we had was people in school, and then you went
Yeah,
home. That was it.
yeah.
We didn't have to deal with that. I'm in three different middle schools right now, working with young boys that have behavior issues, or in need of a male figure to be a role model. And working with the middle school kids, man, they're the unidentified community of education. There's always programs for the elementary. There's always programs for the high school. Middle school kind of gets like lost in there, man. So I'm always working with them to give them a different perspective, man, for real.
Oh, that's so good. Well, the reason I asked you about what it's like to be a dad is because what I'm finding is there's a theme that has been, through these 80 episodes and as I go. And so one of the things is we talk so much about every child needs a dad. because every child does need a dad. It's not, we're not saying that this is not true. It's 100,000% true, and why they
Absolutely.
need a dad and why they need somebody. But one of the things that we haven't touched a lot upon is how much we need to be dads and how much it brings to us. And to see you light up when I say, tell me about being a dad, that tells me that it's part of who you are. It's part of what makes you you and makes you be able to succeed. Us being able to be protect and to provide and to be able to
Absolutely.
be that dad allow us to be super successful in everything else we do. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of dads that don't realize that they're coming across all the, well, somebody doesn't want me to be there, or somebody doesn't want me to have this, or something like that. And you end up going, all right, so if you could just concentrate on being a great dad, everything else will fall into place. Beautiful thing about being a dad and being able to light up is it helps you to be successful in absolutely everything that else you're doing. There's something about being able to take care of kids and know that you're doing a great job. And despite whether you have an ex that doesn't really want you to see your kids and you're doing it anyways, or being out of proximity, or being in, like in your case where maybe for a part of the time you were incarcerated, but coming back and making sure that you make the effort. And sometimes it's your effort that has to be it, but there's so much reward
Yeah.
becoming the dad that's there. I mean, I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yeah, yo, for all of the dads that's out there struggling right now, man, like me and my daughter's moms, we wonderfully co-parent now. Please, if you're going through a rough time, take that time to work on you. Like, become as excellent as you can, because your season's gonna come where you can be a full-time dad and you can really be involved when you want to be, man. Just know that the season that you're going through right now is for you to be formed and for you to be shaped to be the best dad that you could possibly be. So please don't use that season right now to complain, to be discouraged, to be disappointed. Encourage yourself and become the best version of yourself, because your season of being a dad is coming around the corner, man. I like to encourage all fathers that's going through any child support issues, any separation, you going through visitation with your child, you in the courtroom. Just know that it's a temporary season and your time is coming, man. Just keep your head forward and keep molding yourself and becoming the best man that you could possibly be.
Oh man, thank you for that word. That is so needed and so special, and we will highlight that. Is there anything that during our time together that I should have talked about, or we should have talked about, that we didn't get to? What I do want to say is I don't want this to be the last time we have a conversation. So I want you to come back on. We'll do some more. We'll pick your 10 favorite things to talk about, whatever it is, because this is just such great information that I know
Yeah.
will help folks that are doing. So
I
is
would
there
I
anything
would
today?
love to come back, man.
Okay.
Last year I was blessed to come out with a Christian rap album. It's called Something God Loves. It's on all streaming platforms, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Greg H. Jackson is the name on there. Just go look it up, download it, play that music, play it for your kids if you don't play it for anybody. It's very high integral music, high spirited music, and it's some positive music for them to listen to. So get that music, sow a seed into your children with it. And then for everybody, if everybody does a little bit, man, nobody would have to do a lot. So just do your little bit in the world, man, and everything will be all right.
I love it. I need to send my son out to just to hang out with you for a while. He's getting ready to turn 30, so he'll be 30 next May. We adopted him and his brother they came from Brooklyn. So they were adopted in
Word.
Brooklyn. We got them when they were 5, and they've been part of our family and our house. And so he went to Hastings College on a track scholarship, came back a rapper, and so he's been doing music in Denver. Like last year, he was named rapper, Denver's rapper of the year or something like that. And he's just kind of
Wow.
finding his place and figuring it all out. And so I would love to connect you. He did one of our podcasts here and kind of talked about the things that he's doing. So proud of him. But
Yeah,
he's
man.
figuring out. So I'm going to figure out how to get him out to just hang out with you, just to hang out and say, hey, this somebody who's been doing it, somebody who's worked it, and somebody who has made a place in life that is just phenomenal. And he goes by DNA Picasso, as Devin the son
Okay.
Arnold, and so he's DNA Picasso, and so he's just like I said, proud of him, but helping him figure out he makes enough money in rap to live, but not
Amen.
to live.
I got
like, hey, I can pay the bills and that kind of stuff doing it and
Yeah.
traveling, but I'm not living like the videos that he puts are using a whole bunch of other people's stuff.
Yeah. It's he could support the habit,
Yes, exactly. Hey, well, Greg,
I would love to meet him, man,
okay.
and give
Yeah,
him
I'll make
whatever
sure I make
pointers
that
I can.
connection. I also want to make sure I connect you, a little bit more deeply with Elevation too, because I know they're in the city. I know they're in the community. I know you've done a few things with them, but you guys are doing such phenomenal work there. Want to make sure that's something that can lean on and help and that kind of stuff. I'm really starting to find out it's the people that you can connect people to, the resources on things you don't know how to do. I just went to a thing just the other day on just a group called New Life that has a whole bunch of counseling programs and helps out. And there's a lot of times I don't have the right things to say. I think we talked about that, where I don't know all the things, and if somebody comes to me with issues that I can't solve, hey, there's a whole group of people out there that have the ability with people of color to be able to spend some time
Come on, man.
get through it. So let's make sure that we're together. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to day to be here. And so we will connect. I will get out all the wonderful things. And if you are just coming on and this is the first podcast that you've listened to with the Journey to Freedom, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you are listening to at least pick out the ones that you think you might like. Then you'll probably go back to some of the other ones that will just I guess breathe into your spirit, that will talk into the things that maybe things you knew that you needed, and some of the things you knew that you don't even know that you needed, but found out you do. And so it's a great place to be. So thank you for being part of another episode of the Journey to Free podcast. We'll look forward to talking to each and every single one of you as soon as we possibly can. Don't forget that you are God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to, and we will talk to you soon.